Yes, my husband will adopt our son. We have a lawyer and everything. We've gone about like what we need to do in the process. I'm kicking myself in the ass because it's something that I haven't prioritized and I need to. My son's birth father passed away. And a lot of the times when I talk about him, I'm so nervous to talk about it in videos. But when I left him, I made a decision that I wasn't going to be scared anymore, or that I can be scared, but I'm still going to pop off and do what I want to do. So I'm going to continue. So, as a preface, my son's father was not a good person. My son's father, by the time he died, had 7 legal victims, including me. And that's just like documented, like on paper, the ones that, prosecuted. So, when my son was probably like about 3 years old, I'd say I started talking to my husband. This is him around when we first started talking. He was in training. He had joined like a building construction technology program, because, he was not sober, not really, on a straight and narrow path, and so he decided to do something about it. So when I first met him, like when he first entered training, neither of us were like ready for any solid relationship. Like I said, he was still, you know, not making the best choices for lack of better terminology, and I definitely wasn't ready to settle down. So obviously, since we were just like talking and we were on and off, like I wasn't gonna like introduce my kid to him or anything, but my kid steals my phone a lot. So he's starting to text him, right? And my son at this point, one of his special interests, he's autistic, was the Empire commercials, like from a long time ago. So he texts him, he does like, the 2-300 Empire today. Call right now. Call now. And I'm on my laptop and I'm seeing this and I'm like, he loves those commercials. LOL, trying to make light of it. Well, it is a light situation. And my husband's like, I see this. And then Roman in the other room with my phone texts, Empire today, carpet tomorrow. New. Just keep in mind, my kid couldn't even like talk at this point. He wasn't verbal. But he'd write all this to my husband. This must be a commercial too that he liked. It says, is the best in the world. Udall dee dee doo. Acura Hut Barbecue. Try our sweet mesquite. It's a western treat. And a smoke hands and barbecue. Yeehaw! And anytime my kid did anything like that, like my husband was so understanding, he thought it was so funny. So then we started like seriously talking, you know what I mean? But I was going through a rough time because my liver started to fail on testosterone. And I ended up detransitioning, which, if you want to know why, I have tons of videos about that on my page. But my husband stayed with me through it, and a lot of times when people see these pictures, they're like, obviously, you probably liked you better that way. No, my husband likes dudes primarily. But that's why I joke and say he's MJ sexual, because with me, like, I could look like anything, it don't fucking matter. But he stayed with me through this time, like, we met in person, like, we really started to hit it off. And one thing that was so profound, so important to me is that, like I said, my husband was not sober. That wasn't the profound part. But my husband, where he's from, it was like, well, where he was going to school was like 4.5 hours away, and where his family home was like 3.5 hours away. And I do not like driving long distances, especially back then. I had a lot of anxiety. And so during this time, my son's father was alive, and he was with his father on weekends. I was against it. There's literally nothing I could do. I tried keeping him away from him for years and years and years. I faced 11 contempts. So my son would be with his father, and I'm like scared shitless all the time, worried, because like, a lot of times his dad would like call me up, like if he wanted to like party or something, and be like, hey, can you come pick him up? Like you have like, 5 days during the week, but hey. And I was always so scared, like, that like something would happen and I would be like, almost 4 hours away and I wouldn't want to drive home myself. So knowing this, my husband ended up getting sober because he didn't ever want to be like under the influence, like, when he had to like leave for an emergency and bring me back home. He has stayed sober ever since. And it's been years and he's stayed sober. My detransition did not last long, so I retransitioned not that long after, like a month and a half after we were like dating in person, and he stayed with me. He ended up like getting a really good job, like right when he moved here, he had the job already set up, and he paid out of pocket for me to like obtain an attorney, because when my son's father relapsed and things got bad, like I had no way to like obtain a lawyer. Like I worked, but I didn't have that kind of money. But my husband, he had, like I said, he got a really good job, and he paid thousands to ensure that my son was safe. Thousands. I love this picture. The court case got really, really messy, really, really scary. I remember one time, we went to my son's father's hometown, which we're always very skeptical of doing. I don't like doing it. And we were ran off the road by another vehicle. My neighbors would tell me that like these black SUVs, which is what we ran off the road by, they would be like driving past our house. I would get texts from my ex like about things that were in our car, like he would know what was in our car. That means like him or someone was snooping around the car. It was very scary. Like one time, we were about to go to Savers, so I had like tons of bags like packed with like, old clothes, stuff like that in the backseat of the car. And I got a text like right after I put them in the car, like the same day, saying, "What the hell, you're moving? You're moving out of your parents' house? Isn't that fucking creepy?" But my husband stuck through it all. The other day, like, because our lives are very hectic. Like, our lives are just very hectic. I'm a caregiver, not just to my son, but it's a lot going on. My husband works full time, Annie's in school full time. I work full time, 2 jobs. I'm counting social media as a job. It's a job. If it pays the mortgage, it's a job. But we're very busy, and I was kind of like half joking with him. I'm like, do you sometimes just stare like out into, the world and think like, this life, I don't know if it's for me? And he's like, no, even on your worst days, even on our worst days, I would always choose you. So sweet, I'm so lucky. Here's a little clip of earlier today. My son has started calling him dad on his own. I don't influence it, I don't give a shit, but if he wants to, he can. Not to the commentary, I just meant like kind of an FU to anyone who is like, oh my god, you're influencing him. I just don't care anymore. Like, my son's a smart boy, he ain't influenced by nobody.
What is my dad's favorite singing monster?
Do you mean dad as in Eli, or do you mean, like Dada?
Yeah. What is Eli's favorite singing monster?
I don't know. I think he's gonna say Wublin.
My singing monster is Noggin. What's yours? Right. We'll figure out who your monster is.